I call this little video La Différance, and it explicates, in a certain sense, the entire concept of Jacques Derrida and deconstruction in general. And La Différance, strangely enough, is the word in French difference, La Différence, spelt with an E, but what they did in La Différance is they put an A instead of the E at the end. And this is the major thing, that in a written text, there is no finality. It's all interpretation of one thing to the other. That's the whole idea of a written text. And this comes down on the Daf Yomi of today, which is the 8th of, the 12th of ER, and it's Shabbos Daf 61. 61 is a wonderful number because it's Aleph Samek. And in it, they talk about the 3 different oaths. Remember, letters are oaths. See? So this change in the letter to the A, to the Aleph, so to speak, in the word différance. So what I want to do is différance, is difference. I want to do the Gematria of Subtraction for you today. You never see the Gematria of Subtraction. So remember that there are 3 oaths in Judaism. The whole daf is talked about here. It talks about the can you wear tefillin on Shabbos? And it turns out don't. Okay? But I'm not going to talk about that. So the 3 oaths are the bris, the tefillin, and Shabbos. And 2 of them have to be at all times. In other words, the bris and tefillin 6 days a week. But on Shabbos, you don't need the tefillin because Shabbos is itself an oath. So that Shabbos goes with the bris, and that's 2 oaths. So you have to have 2 out of 3. So let's do some subtraction. If I take bris, that's 612. And I subtract tefillin, which is 590. And I get 22. 22 just happens to be the number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So right there is an allusion or whatever the word is, to oaths. Then, if I subtract 702, which is Shabbat, from 590, I get, if I subtract 590 from 702, I get 112. So if I subtract tefillin from Shabbat, I get 112, which is Yud He Vav He Elohim, which is the combined divine name. So in the difference of Shabbat and tefillin is Adonai Elohim, 112. Then if I subtract 612, which is Bris, from Shabbat, I get 90, which is Melech. Well, this is a whole thing that the 22 and the 90 comes out to be 112, and that's the way subtraction works here. So the major thing here is that I'm subtracting Gematria. And what I learned from the subtraction in Gematria, and the big thing that I've learned right here, is that if I take Shabbat and minus Tefillin, I get 112, which is Yud He Vav He Elohim. So this is the difference. Now what does this bring me up to? This brings me up to what I call the oat. And the oat is a letter. And the letter, so when we think about the origin of the concept of oat, where does it appear in the Torah? And it appears in the Torah with Cain. Cain, Hashem gave Cain an oat to keep others from killing him. Well, this could have been one of the 3 oaths of bris. It could have been a Shabbat, that he observed Shabbat, or it could have been tefillin. It could have also been a letter. And what I'm proposing is that Hashem gave to Cain the mark of the letter Aleph. Number 1, this letter Aleph with the comets is what preceded the Torah. It comes from the concept of Anoki. It's the one letter that entire Israel heard from Mount Sinai. This letter of Aleph comets. Ah, 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 oh, oh. In a strange sense, this letter that he gave him could have also been a sound, because he gave him the Aleph. The Aleph in itself has no sound. It has to go with the sound of the vowel. And so he gave him a silence, he gave him a vowel, gave him the concept of the letter Aleph before the bet. Gave him a special area. And where this special area was, why? Because theoretically, Cain did teshuvah. He returned to the return. He returned before the beginning. It's a special case. And that's why in Derrida, they spell différance with an A. The A is what starts off everything. And that's what you must return to. You must return to the letter which starts off everything. And so on Sinai, what you heard from Hashem was one thing. It was the Aleph of Anoki. Noki. Aleph comets. I'm going to do a video later or tomorrow on this Aleph comets itself and the word Anoki. Because, I don't believe in highfalutin stuff. I want to get back to the essence the atzmuts, the mamish, the simple. What could be more simple than the letter Aleph? And what could be more simple than that than than the vowel Kametz, which comes from Keta? And what does this signify, this vowel Kametz? It actually signifies the handful, a flower, all other things. So this is the concept of the ot, the letters. The letters is how you have to find the différance between the letters. And the ultimate difference is between the letter Aleph to the letter Bet. Because the Bet signifies the house. We've all been in societal separation, told to stay within the house, told to stay within the Bet, the bayit, the Bet. And for this, there's a potential within the Bet for meditation. The Bet, in the word house in Greek, is a parallel to the word tomb. And in the tomb is a place for meditation in the body. For another thing I'm going to do is the meditation on the breath. That you should hear your breath. And that the concept of Shema, I'm going to be doing some videos on this. And the concept of Shema, which is called hearing, to Shema, to hear, or to listen, really means to absorb. So the level of saying the Shema is really listening to your breath, absorbing the breath. And always remember, these videos are slightly different than I started out here. And I lose a lot of people on the first few minutes, and that's beautiful, because the real depth of my videos come as I'm doing it. So, these are my meditations. So when you do the Shema and you observe and you hear the sound or you sensate it, it's through the ears, and the ears in the Shema. Remember, the eyes are the Chaya, the ears are the Neshama, the nose is the Ruach, and the mouth is the Nefesh. And if you hear and sensate and absorb your breath through your ear function, you're absorbing your neshama. And that's what comes out in the Shema. Well, the Shema is it comes out in the Bria world, which is the Nefesh, which is the neshama. And everything, including Cain, comes out of the letter Aleph, because there's a substitution for 100 to 1, Kuf, the letter Kuf. I just realized it, that a kaf is kaf pei, and a kuf is kuf vav pei. You know that kaf and the kuf are very similar, but the kaf is 100. The kuf is 100, the first letter of Cain, and Aleph is 1. And it goes like this. There's another substitution of letters, Aleph, Yud, Kaf, Kuf, and then that Kuf goes into an Aleph again. So if that's the case, then the Kuf becomes an Aleph, and the Aleph, Yud, Nun, is ayin. Nothing. The first word of ayin, sof. So these levels of existence all relate to the Aleph, which everything does before the bet. And this distance from Aleph to Bet is the distance of interpretation.